Welcome to the Age Reversing Blueprint podcast, where we discuss tools and tips to help you reverse your age naturally.
You cannot hack biology. You can improve the process of your chemistry, your neurochemistry, your cellular level, but you cannot hack it. It's impossible. Hack is for computer. There's too much people wanting to improve their lives, and the biohacking community signed up his own death sentence when Dave Asprey, in competition with Brian Johnson, who was claiming, I'm a billionaire and I'm spending $3 million a year on improving my health. And Dave was he's a competitive guy. And he goes like, I'm spending $2 million and I'm way better. I'm not even spending $10,000 on my health, but my biological age is better than both. And I'm older than both of them. And I was looking at that and I said, like, there is no way that all the people on this planet will identify themselves to these guys. Like, is biohacking just for billionaire? That is not the purpose of it. So let's make it clear what people are wanting. They want to improve their life. What is the way to improve your life? There is so many natural and free processes that you can use. You don't have to buy infrared therapy. You can go outside. You can walk in the morning. You don't have to buy pills to make you digest and not raise your blood sugar after a meal. Take a freaking walk. It's free. So lifespanning was born because of that. And then on the other extreme, Brian Johnson and his team, like, don't die. I'm sorry. It's not don't die, is live that is important. Don't die. We're all going to die. So I looked at that and I said, like, I need a word that is addressed to these people to make them understand that everything can be free and everything is easy. It's not complicated. You don't have to have a PhD to understand the principle of life optimization. It's for everyone. This is my punk attitude in the industry, and I'm proud of the movement. I don't think that there is competition between biohacking, longevity, rational lifespanning. We are all on this freaking planet for the same thing, improving life.
Excited to introduce our guest, Jean Falacara. He is an award-winning author and an expert on human performance. His award-winning book, Neuroscience Calisthenics, Hijack Your Body Clock, taps into the world of neuroscience to achieve unparalleled results of human performance. And according to Jean, all of our conscious and subconscious actions result in cellular aging. He reveals how one can hijack the body clock by using the powers of neuroscience. He's also known as Cyber Gains, and is a distinguished serial entrepreneur, scientist, athlete, and public speaker. He's based now in Miami, Florida, born in France, and he holds an engineering degree in biotechnology with a specialization in virtual reality and augmented reality from MIT, and has an academic background in biochemistry, immunology, genetics. He's a visionary founder behind several successful ventures, and he recently achieved a significant milestone by selling his biotech group to Intest Corp. He's an innovative, has an innovative approach and relentless drive among the world's elite, and earning his prestigious spot in the top 30 disruptive entrepreneurs in the world in 2023, alongside renowned figures Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. In addition, Jean has endeavors in integrating neuroscience and fitness, having established the Cyber Gains Neuroscience Calisthenics Labs and authored the book Neuroscience Calisthenics. Jean, I could go on and on, but I want to get into the good stuff today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, yes. I probably need to put some censorship on my bio just to make it shorter. Otherwise, like, people are wasting like 20 minutes talking about what I've done. But I think that in principle, it's not what you've done that is important, is what you're going to do. So let's start from zero. I'm just Jean Falacara. I'm on your podcast, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, don't discount that. I mean, where we are right now is where we're supposed to be, and where we are is where we've come from. And you put a lot of hard sweat, equity, and the school of hard knocks, along with all those other things to get there. And that's what we're going to be sharing. And we're constantly dynamically changing. Jean, I saw you speak at the biohacking conference a couple weeks ago, and I was really intrigued with your talk and the journey of mastering the art of endurance. Maybe kind of before we get into that and lifespanning and so forth, give us sort of I guess the high points on how you got to right now, in terms of what do you think were some of the key areas that got you to the situation, or to where you are right now.
Oh, that's a very good question. You know what? I think that if I had to write another book, I would start by questioning myself with that one, and then everything will flow, making me who I am today, started by who I was when I was a kid, always trying to push my limits in a way or the other. And there is some sort of brain pattern that are specific to certain people, and I probably have those one that were created when I was a young kid. So I was into extreme sports, adrenaline driven challenges, skateboarding, skydiving, rock climbing, dirt bikes, and name it, everything that you could risk your life, I was going into that. But then life is precious, you get older. And for me, the most important thing that was always present in my life was learning from the outside, learning from the book. But unfortunately, learning in school was harsh for me. I had a ton of diploma, but I have to admit that I didn't go to school like other people. I was going to exams and I was studying by myself, because I felt that during my whole life that I was wasting my time listening to professors, and I could grab way more information from books and studies and stuff like that. So I made it that way. I got a couple of nice diploma, an engineering degree, some master in immunology and genetics, and then the learning process was my whole life as well, because like a few years ago I went back to the MIT and I go like, wow, virtual reality, artificial intelligence is taking the lead of this world. I need to know. So I went there and I was lost. I was the only one with no background in this area, but I ended up having the highest grade in the class. So I was proud of that. And this is my whole life. I think that when I start some things, I perform. I'm not considering myself high achiever, but I would say like I perform like an high achiever. I'm going to go up to the end with not the perfection, because perfection doesn't exist, but up to the end by mastering whatever I'm starting in the process. And the endurance was the same. Is mastering the endurance was a progress. So as a kid, always into activities, hyperactive kid, not too many friends, because I was always moving and trying to be in with my books and stuff like that. I've always tried to see the impact of sport, and I've always understood, even when I was a kid, that the brain is probably the most important part of our system. But you're 10, 12 years old. I'm the same age as you, a bit older even, and most kids today, they know, but within our generation, no one knew what was the impact of the brain on the body. And everybody had the perception that it's the brain-body connection, while it's one part, it's all integrated, up, down, up. But that I discovered it by myself, by experimenting and doing sports. I was always doing sport, and I was tiny guy, and I was also hypersensitive, like up to the age of 13. If you yell at me or if you raise your voice, I would cry. I would just cry. So I had difficulties coping with the environment and with classes. Like in class, if I was doing an assignment and the professor would come back to me and say, hey, you did that wrong, I would start. And then age of 17, complete shift. I started to join the punk movement with hard music and hard behaviors. And from one extreme to the other, I was even on the path of going to military school, like to reinforce myself and to see what it was. But I was so passionate by the studies. Then when I got selected in the military school and I got to experiment what it was on the meds side, I said, there is no way that someone stupider than I am will give me orders. So I'm not doing that. And I left and I kept improving myself, learning on the process. We didn't have internet accessibility at that time. We had some books, but ADHD doesn't make you read too much books, so you need most news and reviews or publication that are shorter, but a full book was a difficulty. Audiobook came way later, so the struggle was always like keeping myself informed in the shortest path, like biohacking the learning process in a way, but made me understand that we are so far from understanding what our body and our mind are capable. And we sit in this comfort zone where we think that it's a struggle, but there is no struggle. Like, we are most of the time on this autopilot mode where we feel comfortable. But as soon as you start challenging one side of it, anything you do on like physical or mental or whatever, as soon as you start challenging that, you learn that you have the capability of going further and further and further. And the beauty of being human, because I love human and humanity, is I don't think there is any limits. I don't think so. I think that in the future, in the coming years, we're going to exceed every single milestone that were considered as world record or achievement, the highest achievement. Our intellect is evolving, our brain is evolving, our neuronal connection are evolving as well. We are an evolutionary species, and we're not stopping. This is exactly what I consider myself, and this is why I came into life improvement and self-improvement, as simple as that.
Yeah, great. Thank you for sharing. I can see a lot of that in me, in the sense that I had some major ADD, ADHD issues as a child, and I could never really sit and focus in class, and I didn't really try, and I always was a marginal, C+ kind of guy. And then I remember going to my first year university at McMaster University in Canada. And I remember thinking, okay, they said at the very beginning of the class, John, that look around, you're in the exercise physiology program. There's 300 people here. There'll be 150 people here next year. I was like, that was my goal. Okay, I'll just make it to 150. That's it. I played for the varsity soccer team. Going to school was a elective, and going to the bar and the pubs was a requirement for me. And I remember thinking, when I got the transcripts in the mail in the summer, it's like, all I wanted to see was may continue, right?
Yeah.
And it was nerve-wracking. I thought, oh my gosh, like I never, if I may continue, I'm never going to do this again, because I just, it's not a great feeling. Yeah. And so anyways, I remember for the first time, it's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. If I actually study, this information is easy. Right. It was sort of an epiphany to me. And I always explain it. You have a choice. You can go out of your way and not do well, or you can go out of your way and do well. It's your choice, but it's going to require the same amount of energy, or the same deliberate not trying, or the same deliberate trying. But it's, in your case, it seems like you kind of understood that earlier on. It took me a longer time, because in the sense
Mm,
that or I don't know, am I
yeah,
right or wrong?
no, I think that you're the same as you. I think that it was exactly the same for me. Like putting the effort that was just the minimum requirement to get there, because otherwise you're wasting your energy for other improvement that you can have. That's so true. But I found that there is one key factor in the process of that is you have to trigger your brain to get interested, because you can put the tons of effort to getting to that minimum level in some things that you're not interested, it's not going to work. But when you find what is interesting you in that specific module or whatever at school, for example, then it's easy. And the
Right.
effort, instead of being that big, become that small. And for you getting to the mark, it's like, okay, I'm going to read that and understand the principle. Then it's going to be an easy piece of cake to get there. Yeah, I think it's the same for you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
ADHD, it has this pattern anyway for people with ADHD. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think it's a good segue into your talk in terms of endurance. And I guess that would be the question in terms of, when did you understand that when you're interested and you put concentrated effort on it, and you have the awareness and the breathing and the focusing on other things that you talked about, when did you realize that that endurance is those variables were essential for, and I guess that would kind of transition into extreme longevity
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
lifespanning, right? So when
definitely.
did you kind of figure that out?
Okay, so I think that even young, I was always like trying to improve my endurance in all aspects. My father is a marathonian, so he was running marathon every week, and I was watching that, and I like to run, but not that much. I like to play tennis, but not that much. But I was always trying to see how far could I go. When I knew that, it was cool. The age of 19, and just a bit before, I was a radio host, and I was always into music vibes and beats. And then I became a DJ. And a DJ, you play with those sounds that are making something bizarre in your brain. And I realized that if I was combining those sounds to what I was doing, I could get into flow state. And the secret of endurance, it's actually making yourself in a mode that leads you to get into flow state, but not the short flow state like many people can be for 15, 20 minutes. Like I'm talking triggering your brain in a way that you can be into flow state for hours. Despite our brain has a focus span of 90 minutes, doesn't matter. You can be on high flow state, then just a bit less flow state, but still a flow state. And so you understand that when you're into flow state, everything is easy, everything goes super fast without realizing that the time is clicking fast, 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 fast. And your performances, physical, they're not challenging you too much. So the process gets easier, like learning at school, like you were saying. So you understand that endurance is based on that. And this is how I caught that conjugation of factors that can be combined together to make you get there. But the true story of my speech is I had a broken bone, a femur, and that's what led me to master the endurance, because with that broken bone, that for me, in my mind, it was not possible. It was not happening. So I was against my body reaction, trying to put my brain in a mode that it was telling my own brain, one part and the other were communicating and telling from the signal of my body that no, it's impossible. You cannot have a broken bone. You're a cyborg. It's impossible. The cyborg came after, actually, but in my mind, I was always that type of person that you cannot destroy. And then you realize that pain, that scares most of people. What are you scared of? Most of the time, it's pain. You are scared of being shot, being hurt, being smashed. Everything that generates pain is scary, more than a scary movie. So if you master pain and pain doesn't affect you, you master endurance. You can sustain that and you can keep going. So that bone was broken. And for 10 days, even if my pain was raising, I mastered that signaling saying it's not going that way. And I was compensating it with music, breathing, cold, hot, some exercises, but putting everything in phase that I was almost on flow state all day long. And my pain was secondary and it was not there. And from there, I said, like, I can apply this technique to everything I do. And cold plunge is one of my thing I love to do. And I did the same process. Like it's so uncomfortable. So from 1 minute to 2 minutes to 10 minutes to 20 minutes and 45 minutes. Now is not that I'm a competitive person, but watch me coming, Wim Hof. I'll be there.
I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. This podcast is brought to you by Biohacker magazine, and Jean has been so kind to be able to extend to you 3 free months of the Biohacker magazine. Just use discount code Age Reversing Blueprint, all one word, Age Reversing Blueprint, and you will get access to 3 free months of his amazing magazine. Now back to the interview. Yeah, you mentioned that, and thank you for reminding me with that snowmobile accident. And you know, Dave Asprey now talks about in his new book, The Slope of the Curve, right? And, you know, it reminds me, Jean, I was a soccer player and then we had a soccer practice one time, and you know how the nets at the back, they get put down with like these steel pegs to put them down. So I slid to get one, and it felt like it was painful in my knee, but it didn't feel that painful. And then a guy on my soccer team was like, "Oh, gross, look at it, it's disgusting." And when I saw it, there was a huge hole in my knee. It was disgusting.
No way. Wow.
But here's the point. The point is, it wasn't painful until he said how gross it was, and how when I looked at it, all of a sudden I think I fainted, right? Because it was so bad. But I think that there is how to harness the emotional connection to the stimuli in a bell-shaped curve, in the sense that it shouldn't be too little, because pain is a thing to tell us there's a problem,
or something's wrong.
Right. But at the same time, it shouldn't be too much, because at the same time, I guess there's a bell-shaped curve to being able to harness that. I guess the question would be to you is, how do you figure out the bell-shaped curve? How do you is there? Does meaning there
is absolutely. You are 100% right. The example of your peg in the knees is like, you know, those videos where you see the guy is playing with a nail gun, and one goes in the shoe, he yell, he faint and everything. He goes to the hospital, they take off the shoe, and actually it was in between the toes. He was not even touching any bones on anything, but in his brain, he was like, oh, it's painful. So that's exactly it. Like what you tell your mind is what your body will feel. And the cold is like, if you tell your mind that, no, it's not cold, I'm not feeling that thing, and that curve of response is actually easier to trigger when you combine those wavelength and those frequency in your brain to put you down at the right level of zenitude. Because if you are too excited, you're going to trigger norepinephrine, adrenaline, and cortisol, and then you go on your reptilian brain and you walk away. But if you go the other way and you release serotonin, I have the faculty, not showing off on anything, but I have the faculty to feel the flow of my serotonin through my skin and my blood. When it starts triggering, like I feel it in the center of my brain, when my brain kind of shuts down and then release the serotonin to make me feel like so quiet and so happy because I'm in cold water. And with the frequency of the music, it goes at the same beat, same flow. I feel like, and every time it's a feeling that is growing through my limbs. It starts from the interior and it grows through my limbs, and I feel it, and I feel so relaxed, but I feel it going through the body. And it took me a certain time to understand that process. First, I was just like, what is this? I feel like bizarre. But then I realized that it was all neurotransmitters that were going through the blood, and the blood flow was like first bum, 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 and then boop, 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 very quiet. So there is, as you said, that curve that is important to master. But, it's like everything in life, our brain needs neuronal connections. So you need to build them up. You need to build your response. You cannot go like, today I'm going to achieve 45 minutes in cold water, and you dip into it. You've never been in a cold plunge before. That's fairly impossible. It's like everything in life. It's a step-by-step process. And as soon the chunk is too big for your brain to realize that it's achievable, you're not going to make it. So how do you do that? You take, instead of saying, I'm going to stay 45 minutes in that cold shower and trying to understand the frequencies of my music and my breathing aligned with whatever, but you do it like in small step. And this is the curve. The small step are the curve of understanding it and response of your brain and your body. As simple as that.
No, it's right. I was a trainer for many years, and I guess the progressive overload is an important variable. And you mentioned it earlier on, is we no longer are we're losing as a society the uncomfortable nature of doing that hormetic response of a little bit more. And I think there's a fine line. You don't want to do underneath it, right? That's the not stimulating a response, but at the same time, you don't want to create that. If you only need a certain threshold to go above, anything above that is pain and discomfort, right?
Yeah. Some people say pain is good, but I think that controlled pain is good. Not pain is good. Pain is not good. It's controlled pain that is good.
Right. Just curious with the serotonin, when that gets released, does it get to a point where, on the other hand, where the adrenaline and the excitatory stuff are too much, does the serotonin can be too much where it takes you too into parasympathetic state?
In a down after, or in a hard recovery? I have to admit that, yes, some days, like if I train hard in the morning and I go for my cold plunge late in the evening with an empty stomach, and if I stay 45 minutes or 40 minutes there, my shiver getting out of it is sticking to me for a long time. And that is a sign of what you said, is like, it's a bit too much. But if I don't train too hard in the morning and I go earlier in the afternoon and I stay the same time in a better condition, I'm not going to get that. So it's all how your body and your level of energy and your mitochondria are charged or supercharged or not, or are empty, and your glycogen reserve, because you're burning so much glycogen when you're in that state, that you have to be careful. And like you said before, when you push too much your body, the recovery is so extreme that you're not getting any benefit of it. So judging is always the best thing to do. And this is what I have a bit against the biohacking community, is like some people are so fierce biohackers that they push themselves through everything, and then they get not just tired, but they get depressed by the overload of what they're doing, the overload of the biohacking, the overload of not having a life to live. Sport, endurance, learning, it's always based on the same principle. You have to do what is good for your body, what you are capable of understanding, assimilating, and memorizing. Otherwise, the benefit is gone.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. There's some deep level conversation here. And I think, I don't play golf, but I remember I had tried golf a couple times, and someone says to me, you can't do the swing slow enough, right? And I remember the slower I would go, the further the ball would go. And I think that's kind of the analogy of that biohacker that does too much. And it comes down to as well, Jean, what do you want out of this, right? Because if you just want the ends of the thing but not the means, then what's the purpose, right? And that's so as far as one of the questions that I wanted to ask you, which I think is probably a good intro into this conversation, is this the difference between biohacking and extreme lifespanning? Is this what you talk about? Is this?
Yeah. So I was like, I'm a scientist. I've been into life improvement in general. And as a scientist, when Dave pretend that he is the father of biohacking, but biohacking exists before Dave. With all due respect, I like the guy, but he's okay. And as a scientist, as you are, we understand that you cannot hack biology. You can improve the process of your chemistry, your neurochemistry, your cellular level, but you cannot hack it. It's impossible. Hack is for computer. So look at the movement. It's born like, let's say 15 years ago. Biohackers. When you say the word biohacker, people are looking at you and go like, what? Biohacker? What are you hacking? The hospital computer system to steal medicine? And all scientists in my community, and directly and indirectly, when you say biohacking, they say, I don't want to be part of that. That's extreme. You guys put chips in your brain and magnetic on your finger for nothing, or RFID card on your. That's not it. That's not biohacking. Or maybe that is biohacking. And that, I think that slowly and naturally, there's too much people wanting to improve their lives, and the biohacking community signed up his own death sentence when Dave Asprey, in competition with Brian Johnson, who was claiming, I'm a billionaire and I'm spending $3 million a year on improving my health. And Dave was he's a competitive guy. And he goes like, I'm spending $2 million and I'm way better. I'm sorry, guys, but my biological age, I'm not even spending $10,000 on my health, but my biological age is better than both. And I'm older than both of them. And I was looking at that and I said, like, there is no way that all the people on this planet will identify themselves to these guys. Like, is biohacking just for billionaire? That is not the purpose of it. So let's make it clear. What people are wanting, they want to improve their life. What is the way to improve your life? There is so many natural and free processes that you can use. You don't have to buy an hyperbaric chamber to biohack. You don't have to buy infrared therapy. You can go outside. You can walk in the morning. You don't have to buy pills to make you digest and not raise your blood sugar after a meal. Take a freaking walk. It's free. So lifespanning was born because of that, because I was fed up about these biohacking, but hard biohackers there. And then on the other extreme, Brian Johnson and his team, like, don't die. I'm sorry. It's not don't die, is live that is important. Don't die. We're all going to die. So I was just like, what do we do with those people that are just there? They're listening to these guys because they're important. And then they buy a Oura ring and they don't know what to do with the data. And they're just like, oh, my sleep is bad. What do you do with that? And they're just like, I don't know. I need to buy an hyperbaric chamber and this. Can you afford it? No, I'm going to take debt. That's ridiculous. So I looked at that and I said, like, I need a word that is addressed to these people to make them understand that everything can be free and everything is easy. It's not complicated. You don't have to have a PhD to understand the principle of life optimization. It's for everyone. And instead of trying to tell you buy this, buy this, buy this, like improve this step by step in your life, you're going to get there. And I found out that lifespanning was not even a word existing. Now it is, because I trademarked it and it's going to be in the dictionary next year, but it didn't exist before. And I said, like, lifespanning reflects exactly what I want to say. It's like, okay, biohacking as the root of who we are today in the middle. The extreme rational survivor that don't want to die, Disney, Walt Disney, and these guys are on the other extreme. We're not there because we're going to die. But what do we do in the middle? We extend our life in the best way, live fit, live better, live longer, live healthier, and don't spend all the money of your family to get there. Most of the things are free. Think about your children and pay their study or their education, but not your own freaking selfish biohack to compromise their studies. That's not fair. This is where I stand. This is my punk attitude in the industry, and I'm proud of the movement. We're taking a certain lead because many people are so interested in what we're doing. And to finish on that, you had those people in the longevity space that are doing fantastic things, and the biohacking industry always considered them as competitor. I don't think that there is no competition between biohacking, longevity, rational, lifespanning. We are all on this freaking planet for the same thing, improving lives. Why do we need to compete to help others? Shouldn't we just like make this world better? It seems cheesy when you say it, but it's so natural.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love the term lifespanning. I do think biohacking is ill-appropriately named. I think it's more data tracking and understanding your body. And I like the idea. So I'm just curious, because you purchased the Biohacking magazine. Is it going to be sort of like the analogy of Elon Musk that purchased Twitter? Are you looking at changing the name to the Lifespanning magazine? Or
that's a good question, but I have to give respect to where the magazine is coming from, because it was the first and only magazine in the biohacking industry. So it's still perceived as the authority in terms of longevity. I think that it's mainly, maybe the name will change to Lifespanning magazine for sure in the long run, but is it necessary? If you make people understand that biohacking can be perceived as something like the root of the optimization, and if you take biohacking 2.0, so you take biohacking, you add love, it gives you lifespanning. You don't have to get rid of biohacking, and you can keep the name of Biohackers magazine, which now is part of the Lifespanning Media Group. And we're coming up with big ideas. When I took over that magazine, my goal was like, the world of tomorrow is driven by virtual reality, extended reality. So instead of just reading on your computer or tablet or getting the print, because we do both, people are getting back to printed version. The next version of the magazine is going to be virtual reality. So you want to learn about meditation, you deep dive into the environment that you choose with the things you like, and then you're going to be guided on how to achieve each step that brings you to a state of meditation. And it's going to be way more useful than just reading, because you read an article on how to meditate and you start to meditate, you're not going to get there. If you have this learning process by being immersed, you're going to get there. So I want Biohackers magazine to become the first fully immersed magazine in longevity space available in the world. And this is where we're going.
That's very cool. Yeah. Is it also choosing your own adventure kind of idea, where, as a kid, you have this book, they went to the basement or they went to the cemetery, you can choose. Is it incorporating this as well?
Yeah, exactly. So for example, you go through a front door and you say, okay, what are the pattern and the surrounding that you like. You like to be on the ocean, or you like to be in the mountain, you like green, or you like blue. So you choose what you like. Then the environment is created according to your liking, to your personality. You like to walk into small spaces or open spaces. You like to hear this type of sound, or the birds, or the music. You choose all these small things that make actually your life better and make you live longer. I call them like small buggers in life. All the things that you don't like the people honking on their car, or the noise that you don't like, those are buggers. So remove all those buggers, create your ideal environment, and then you're putting your brain on flow state. Mandatory. It's going to be on flow state because you have set the element that puts your brain in the way that you are so quiet, so at pace, so in peace, that you're going to get into flow state. And flow state is the best way to learn. So when you want to learn by reading the magazine, you're going to be so absorbed that the learning process will be an easy process. And the understanding of what biohacking or longevity or life spanning is, it's going to be absorbed, memorized, and you can use it in the future.
That's great. I'm just curious, maybe, I don't know if this is a suggestion or a question, but you know, sometimes you get into a conversation with someone and you're telling the story, and then you have a side story because you want to give a little more context to this angle. And then you could even get a side story to that side story, and you kind of forgot about the main story.
I like that.
With this particular, let's say you're reading an article on, let's say, using your breath and getting into flow state with endurance and getting into the optimal serotonin, adrenaline release. But then you have another area on in terms of, okay, well, adrenaline release. And do you have something like this planned as well? Or
absolutely. Because the beauty of artificial intelligence, it's like it's created on the spot with all the information that are available there. The machine learning will help us to get there. But on the virtual reality world, which is driven today, Zuckerberg is doing a fantastic job with all the credit he was not getting at the beginning. Now people are perceiving that it's a true fact. So in this metaverse, if you open a second door, like you're in the meditation, and then you have that door that says like, delta waves or theta waves, and you see, theta waves, I'm going to see. Then you go there and you're going to get the scientific explanation, what they are, how they are triggered, what is the frequency, how to get there with the ocean frequency balance and things like that. So it's infinite, because the world of tomorrow is beautiful, because data and information are going to be more and more available in a fraction of the second. You don't have to go through thousands of books to understand things. Artificial intelligence is bringing us straight to the point with the right facts and the right information. I love that. It's so thrilling for someone that wants to learn everything on every aspect of his life. If I had a goal, it would be to die by knowing everything that is possible to know on this planet. It's very not possible, but I think artificial intelligence is taking us in that direction.
Yeah, it's exciting time. It is exciting times. I'm going to sort of be the Debbie Downer in a sense that, you know, when I moved from Canada to US, I felt this feeling of the best of the best and the worst of the worst, right? That's so right. As far as, let's look at the other side of the coin, because, you know, I also think that, I don't want to say the sky's falling, but you look at the youth of today, and the endurance is even worse because of EMFs and cell phones and dopamine and 24-hour Amazon and glyphosates in our soils, and the list goes on and on and on. Even just the glutamates and how toxic our world is. I guess the question would be, Jean, what are some of the challenges you see with not just the platform and the technology of what you're doing with lifespanning and biohacking, but as far as being able to increase lifespan given these obstacles of what's going on with the environment? What do you think? I guess what are some of the challenges in getting there, do you see? Yeah,
there is only one. There is one challenge. The crucial dilemma of our society falls down to educating our kids, why they are spending 8 hours on their Instagram every day, why they are sitting in front of the TV, watching Netflix, which is a brainwasher. I don't even have TV, just to say. Why after meal, they go on the sofa, open up a bag of potato chip and a beer, if they're old enough, and they sit there. Why? It's because we, as parents, grandparents, we are the educators. We have the mandate to make the world better. And the impact of what we're doing every day is like what I said, everything impacts your biology. Every decision you make impacts your biology in a way or the other. This is exactly it. If you don't educate your kids to behave properly, to understand the negative aspect of certain behaviors, you're not going to get this planet in the right direction. And everything that we do, it's not even for just our kid now, because the way that you teach your kid is the way that they're going to teach their kid and their kid and the other. So think about that. Make your job as educator, give the world the right tool to understand why, the why of who we are since the evolution of the species, millions of years of evolution. In the last 4 or 5 generations, we are going down. We're not evolving anymore. We're going reverse. Obesity on the rise, heart attack and stroke and everything are going crazy. Why? Because our parents didn't do their job. And there's people like us trying to change that, to improve that. So how lifespanning is going to do that? Lifespanning has a platform in between the 6 platforms that we have, that is the Lifespanning Academy. And you take 12 segments of life optimization. There are about 12 parameters that optimize your life. And each of them become a lesson that you can take. And when you have a graduation on one, you can go on the second. And then if you have the 12 of them, you are a lifespanner. So education is the key of the future, is the key of longevity. Just that.
Yeah, I listen, it's good to get into your brain, because I think we're coming out with a lot of different, we're dissecting out a lot of different areas and the way your brain works and the goals. Again, not to be Debbie Downer, but at the same time, you know, the government and the food bill and why we're subsidizing, you know, cheaper, more profitable crops that aren't healthy, and the minerals in our soils and all of the additives and known challenges. How do we overcome that? Because, you know, I heard someone talk the other day, it was a neurologist, and he was saying why we are nutritionally deficient. And as you know, not all diets are the best. You have to go out and do this. But even with doing that, you know, the food that's available for us, with the best intentions and wanting to go through a longevity course and curriculum to do it, the obstacles that we face with the environment are we past that point of no return, or how do we bring the government to and everything else, policymakers to help us get there? Because I don't want to see us taking 3 steps backwards for every 2 steps forward, right?
Yeah, I'm an optimistic guy, so it is a bit pessimistic to say that have we gone too far, that is not reversible. I have faith on humanity, and I think that one of the best lessons that we can learn from the human as we are is from the COVID situation. We've learned so much from these restriction and mask and measures that were dictated by the government itself. As today, one person on the street, what they think about the past regulation and mandatory measures that the government imposed on us, they're all like, never again. The lesson has been learned. And I think that this is where I face on humanity. Unfortunately, I will probably not live longer to see the change I would love to see, even if I will live up to 150. It's just because it takes time, but everything I can change today that will reflect on my kid, and my kid will keep going the mission of reflecting that to others. It's an impact in the right direction. And this is all I want to do, is like, I have faith in humanity. I have faith that people are understanding why the wellness industry is the fastest growing industry in the world, growing faster than AI, growing faster than the Bitcoin and all these cryptocurrency were at the time of their explosion phase. So if the wellness industry in general is growing that way, means like more and more people are paying attention to being healthier. And this is where my face is coming from. I think that if everyone is paying a bit more attention, everyone is implementing one more step. So one day, I don't know when, but one day we're going to be almost optimized naturally by the way we eat, we move, we talk, we do everything. But it's a long process of evolution, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Darwin. Darwin shown that the evolution of the species is something that happens since day one to today, and I keep going in that direction. It's a Darwinism feeling that we're going to keep going, because in general, the evolution of the species was not like a straight curve. It was like that. Today, we are in a down because of obesity, because of corporation trying to make money on the health of people. But that, as you know, you take an elastic band and you pull it to a certain extent, it's going to break. We're there. They pulled it so hard that now people are just like, no way, not anymore. So unfortunately, there's still people going to McDonald's and buying those food because it's an easy escape. But step by step, from the outside to the inside, it's going to change. I have faith, honestly.
Yeah, I'm an optimist too, and I'm like you in that sense. And I can't remember what the saying is, and I don't mean to butcher it, but they say that new science ushers in as the older people die off, right? And I think that we have a younger population, we're going to be more open to these things. I also, you know, as a healthcare provider, know that it would make sense to third-party payers if they're saving money by you being healthier. And I think we're on that transition now as well. But I do still see that we have these obstacles in the way. I mean, I could talk to you all day, and I'm going to be respectful for your time.
No, please.
Yeah, as far as I'm curious to know, this is sort of off script, but with all the things that you've talked about today, what do you find are the key life-spanning tools or tricks or things that you do on a daily basis are key for the average listener who's not as sophisticated and they really want to increase their longevity? What do you see the things that are most effective for your journey so far, Jean?
I think that I would start by one of the most difficult one to master is understanding your body without having the need of trackers. But let's put it just back to the basic for the everyone listener that wants to start. The best trick, the best biohack, like they say, to be a lifespanner easily is walking. Our cities are not made to walk. You walk in Miami, sidewalk are like this. Street for cars are huge. And in Brickell, I don't know why people have cars. You can walk everywhere, but there is way more people taking cars than walking. So walk is the magic pill of everything. Is the magic pill of longevity, is the magic pill of digestion, is the magic pill of stressed brain, is the magic pill of reducing your cortisol, is the magic pill of insulin regulation, is the magic pill of blood sugar, is the magic pill even of getting obese. If you walk, you're not going to get obese. Whatever you eat, if you compensate long enough. And I have one thing in mind, is everything that is below 5K, which is 3.3 miles, let's say. Yeah, 3 miles. Walk. Don't take a car. Walk. You go to a grocery, walk. You go to some places, a restaurant, walk, especially to a restaurant. You're going to overeat anyway. So when you come back, you're going to digest. That's the free trick, the free biohack that you can use and that everybody should use. And I think that our society has a responsibility of telling people that they have to walk, and on the other side, cities and communities have the responsibility to make area walkable. That would be awesome.
It's a great answer. I do that all the time. I'm glad I do that. And I think with the bonus of, depending on what time of the day and the spectrum of light that you're getting, you get all that benefit as well too. Yeah. Okay, great. So then as far as maybe the next level of a slight investment, either a nutrient, a device, a philosophy, what would you go with the next level of what besides after walking?
Yeah. So I would try to use everything natural, but I love sauna. I love cold plunges, as you know. But one gadget, because I'm a brain maniac and a brainiac. And I don't know if you remember the company Halo Neuro. At that time, they were doing transcranial direct stimulation for flow state and getting into neuroplasticity. So the key word is neuroplasticity. If you can trigger neuroplasticity on what you do, you learn faster, you run better, you memorize better. In the long process of testing so many things, infrared stimulation for the brain is fantastic, but there is one tool that is called neurovisor, combined light flashing in patterns in 3 directions and music that goes with the flashing lights. And you can put your state of mind in less than 6 minutes in the way you want, like focus, relaxation, meditation, pre-sleep, or whatsoever. So if you're a bit short on time, which it's a paradox, we're not. Everybody has 24 hours. But let's pretend you still have 10 minutes in your life to use that tool. It's a great trick. It helps really to, you're on a stressful situation, meeting or whatever, right after that or right before getting into that meeting, you can use the neurovisor. It's a fantastic technology. They just came at the Amsterdam Biohacking Congress with a concept, one program that is called microdosing drug-free. That is kind of crazy interesting. Like I think microdosing is going to be part of our future in our society, putting our brain connection in the right pattern. But they can trigger the same effect as mushrooms without using mushrooms. That's exciting. Very interesting.
That's exciting. Yeah. You know, I just had a patient that I was talking to this morning, and she's having major challenges. And, you know, like everyone has the Santa Claus bag of supplements, and then they read that this is going to be the next one. And I explained, listen, there's the way I look at it is, I like to look at it as very easy concept, supply and demand. You have more supply, less supply of factors, energy production than the demand for it. And in this case, just like, you know, the 30,000 view foot, if I had more demand for income than supply for income, I'm going to have to make some decisions here. Am I going to keep food on the table? I'm going to, you know, keep the power on. And so that's the metabolic side of things, which is fuel. And
Yeah.
we deliver fuel in terms of glucose and oxygen and so forth. But the other side of it is activation. And I think that's the side that we don't focus in as much because it's not as sexy, or it takes a little bit more
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
But, just like you're talking about the neuroscience of calisthenics and being aware of how important your endurance and getting into flow state requires your mind to be conscientious and coordinated with your breathing. You have these tools that it's exciting, Jean, in terms of vibration, sounds, frequencies,
Light.
light. Yeah, very,
Yeah.
very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I guess one of the questions is, where do you see us going in the or at least lifespanning or the biohacking and your vision? What's new on the forefront for you?
I think that it's well, first of all, I love the approach, brilliant and very intelligent. And your similarity with the bags is, I'm going to use it. I love it. Yeah,
That's good.
that's very cool.
Please
So,
do. Yeah.
yeah, in the future, I think that we are understanding more and more the brain and the functionality of the brain. It's a complex machine. We probably will never understand it completely, but we're improving in that direction. And where, again, I face for something is like, if we understand our brain, we're going to understand the psychological effect and all these depression and anxiety that makes our society a nightmare. So the man is a complex machine because of his brain, but since we understand how it works, now we can help improving it, creating a new pathway in our brain, new connection, creating neuroplasticity and improving our brain and our functionalities in general. The use of technologies in the future is fantastic for that reason. We're in a modern society. We understood that light and sound help the brain to be in that stage or that stage or that stage. Now we can use that to improve it and make us better. So every technology that comes in that direction is more than welcome. I see the future as human combining a bit of technology, but going back to the root of who we are. The natural elements are the one that make us live longer and better. Like you said before, if you walk in the morning with the sunlight, those are two parts of our brain that are exposed. They're not in the skull, but it's our brain. It's directly our brain. If you expose those two small parts to the sun, the benefit is not just like seeing the light and your mood during the day, your performances, and it goes up to your sleep at night that is dictated by this trigger that is a light stimulation into your eyes on our circadian rhythm and all the things. We're not going to go into those details, but those natural elements affect so much our behaviors. We need to relearn and reteach people how to use them.
Yeah.
Simple
Yeah.
as
And
that.
it's not an easy task, but I'm an optimist like you. And I tell people, like, I'm a golf pro. And when you come to see me, you learn to swing the golf club so incorrectly. Not only do I have to teach you how to unlearn that, I have to teach you now to relearn, where I would have wished you just would have come to me without learning how to swing it so poorly in the first place.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to tell us about what's in the future personally. Is you have a record to break for Wim Hof and the breathing.
Yeah. But I think,
Yeah.
my big goal is like, I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. And this is my 12th company that I'm starting running, like a merger acquisition and things, but many startups in my life. And when I left corporate America, I was supposed to stay another 3 years minimum with that company, but I couldn't cope because of my spirit with administrator and board of shareholders and whatever. My dream was bringing something to this universe, lifespanning, MediaCorp was born. So my biggest goal today is to make this company the central core of where you want to go to get unbiased information, not trying to sell you anything except education and educational tools, things that makes you better. And I'm not going to push you to buy supplement, because there's tons of supplement, and we're actually in the structure of lifespanning, we're screening these things. We came up with lifespanning certified. It's like no more bullshit in this biohacking industry. I went to Los Angeles, and the guy was selling chocolate, and he said it's Biohackers chocolate.
Yeah.
What is the difference? Okay.
Protein chips, you know.
Yeah,
Protein,
come on, give me a break. Like everything is biohacking now. Soon you're gonna see, oh, I have a T-shirt, this biohacking T-shirt. Come on, okay, let's make it through. Let's stop thinking that people are stupid. And so this is what we're doing too with lifespanning. Like, we're gonna say, this is bullshit. This is not bullshit. If ever you want to buy a supplement, here is the list of supplement that you could buy, but don't buy these because you're going to be screwing up your system, like the concentration are not good inside or whatever. Some sort of acting as the authority, putting back together the things that have been a mess in the past 10 years. It's wild, wild west.
Yeah, very important too, Jean, with machine learning, because it can be biased information that's being given. And I just wanted to say, like, thank you so much for, again, being here. But also you've offered the ability for the listener to get 3 months of the Biohacking magazine. We said that the name of the podcast is Age Reversing Blueprint. So if they use that code, they'll get 3 months free, which I'm excited to look at. Jean, I'm curious to know, because I've enjoyed this conversation immensely. What do you wish you would have known then that you know now, that perhaps could have set you further or quicker on your lifespanning journey?
Everything is simple. There is nothing complicated. It's putting the right concepts at the right place. Why our brain are overwhelmed? It's because we got so much information, we don't know what to do with it. So we mix them up together and we get messed up, and then we get stressed and we don't understand the principle. But if you segment all these basics and you understand them, then combining them like a puzzle, like putting blocks together, becomes the easy part. So I think that when I was a kid, if I understood that principle, that there is nothing complicated in life, I would be even a better person today. I think I became I came to in Miami, and I'm at ultimate state of zenness today. But if I had known everything I know today when I was 20, wow.
Well, perhaps it was the butterfly effect too, because at the same time, you would have had to go. You wouldn't have had to go through all the things that you had to go through to get to where you are now. At the same time. But no, it's I do think that we have too much information at our disposal, and especially with people that have the tendency to be ADHD. Too much information. You want it to be more laser focused and get rid of the chaff and use the information. I guess the way I look at it is, I say this to the patients as well, is you can very easily exceed your metabolic capacity. And when you do that, it's like a hot day and your cell phone melts down, right? And less is more in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. So following that pattern, I think that one of the best advice we should give to people is burn your TV.
Right.
Don't be brainwashed by those unnecessary information, and be laser focused, like you said, on what is important for you.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time here, Jean.
Thank
I'm
you. It was an
excited with your
honor.
mission. I love to
Thank you.
help out in any way. I feel I'm aligned with everything that you said today, and I have so much more to learn. I think the important thing is knowing what you don't know, right? And that's the
Yeah, I
thing.
love it. It could be the
Yeah.
title of the article that you're going to write for a magazine.
Right. Perfect. Well, I got lots more to come in there. I have 5 books in my brain that I need the endurance
Nice.
to be able to come out with at one time. So
Cool.
yeah, thank you so much. This is just the beginning, John, and I
Thank you.
appreciate your time. And I look forward to see and be on the sidelines to see how successful and how mission driven you become and the impact that you're going to make on the world. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It was my honor to be on your podcast. It's awesome time.
Hi, thank you so much for watching our Age Reversing Blueprint podcast. If you've made it this far, we sincerely thank you for your attention and your interest in reversing your age. If you're looking to get more information on today's topic or other podcasts that we've had, be sure to check out the show notes and be sure to check out drjoelrosen.com. Have an awesome day.